Hello everyone, welcome to my little craft room. I thought I would actually do another snippet. So we've just done snippet 92, which I absolutely love. I love these snippets. So I thought we'd do another snippet 93. And I can just reach for my card because I've now got the pieces all pre-cut. And they are, you can get these on the website. These are 4x6 pieces, specifically for our Frenchies and cards. Not Frenchies, snippets and cards. So the 4x6, 300 GSM, Pink Frog, super smooth card. Now, what I wanted to do is create something a little bit more moody this time. And I thought what I'd do this time was use the Malva stamp TE8 and just create something a little bit more moody, as in sort of a bit darker in colour. I've done lots of bright colours and I just thought, well, we'll have a little play. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take Hickory Smoke. So I've got Hickory Smoke, Vintage Photo and Black Soot. So let's take the Hickory Smoke. And we'll just, I didn't fill my spritzer up. It's a good job I've got two. I'm just going to spritz that with water. And I'm just going to add this to the 4x6 piece of card. And I'm just going to dot it around the card. And I'll just spritz that a little bit with water, just so that we get that oxidization, just to add to the interest of the background. And am I going to dry in between? I'm not going to dry initially. So just grabbing my heat tool, but I'm not going to dry it initially, but we'll see how we get along. So then I'm going to add some Vintage Photo. And then I'm just going to spritz that with water, a couple of spritzes. And I don't have to worry about the squareness of it because I'm just moving the colour around the card with it being wet. So I'm just going to give this a little bit, a bit of a spritz, and then I'm going to give it a dry. I couldn't switch it on then. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a dry. And what I want to do is create a really sort of moody backdrop. I can already see the oxidization, which is wonderful. I'm not going to dry that too much at the moment because I want to add, oh, got a bit there. Let's move this snippet album out of the way because I know what I'll do. I'll drop things on it because that's me all over. I'm going to leave that bit of wet that's on the acrylic block. Doesn't matter what size your acrylic block is, makes no difference whatsoever. So as I pick the colour up, I'm moving it around the card. You can have two pieces of card going at the same time if you wish. Again, I can just give that a little spritz with water. And I'm just going to dry this now, just so that I don't break the card down too much. And I'm just going to mop up the excess moisture, just so that I can quite easily just carry on. But I'm just drying because then I can add layers of that colour. So I'm then going to take the Hickory Smoke again. Let's spritz that with water again. And I'm just going to add the Hickory Smoke. And I'm just going to build up a few layers of that Hickory Smoke. And the way I'm building that is to dry the layer each time, just so that I build up the interest. And I'll just turn that over now. And by drying that, I can then build up those layers. So I'm just going to take the hickory smoke again. And once again, I'm going to press this around the card, just randomly around my card. And then I'm going to just spritz with water. Let's give that a dry. The only reason I'm drying this is I can't pick the acrylic block up because it's wet. It just flicks through my fingers. So we'll give that a dry again. And again, just as most of it's dry, I'm just going to dab the moisture. Let's just dry it from the other side as well. So I'm drying it as well so that doesn't break the card down too much. Am I going to add that now? Yes, why not? And I'm going to take a little bit of black soot. Now, can you see I'm just using the edge of my black soot because I don't want to go in too dark too quickly. So I'm just going to come in with the black soot and just add a little bit with a little bit of water. I'm then going to come back to my vintage photo and just add a little bit of the vintage photo. And can you see the vintage photo is getting richer and darker because I'm now adding layers of that colour. And again, if you wish, you can, to aid the oxidisation, you can spritz that with water just to add to the interest of your background. Again, I'm just going to dry from the back. Again, so that card is not too wet. And once again, I can just dab this. Then again, adding layers. We're continuing with those layers. I'm going to add some of that hickory smoke. And just add the hickory smoke to the background. And again, just spritz with water. Let's put that lid on that one and that on that one. And then I'm going to add a tiny touch of the black soot. Look how little of the black soot I add. Look how little of the black soot I'm adding. Just so you can see that. And then let's just add a few more droplets. You can just give that a few moments whilst you're wiping around, just for the water to react. Just give this a really good dry. So I need it to be really dry now. So just drying this completely because I've got my sort of moody backdrop. Can make the black a little bit darker if I wish at a later stage. Okay, let's just make sure that, you know, we've got no sort of lying wet water. And I'm then going to take, let's just wipe the acrylic block. I should wipe it really with a wipe, just so that it isn't quite so grubby. Let's give that a little bit of it. Whoops, she says as she flicks it. A little bit of a wipe. That's because there's moisture on there, and that's why it's easy to just flick that. And then going to take my Malva floral. There we go. Not that one. Let's grab a bigger acrylic block just so that I can grab hold of things. I've got things everywhere on my desk. There we go. Let's move this out of the way. And I'm just going to grab a piece of cut and dry foam. So I'm just grabbing a piece of cut and dry foam. And then what we need then is some... Do I need to do it with white paint? Actually, I don't. Let's do it with... Whoops. We'll take our VersaFine Clair Portobello because it's not going to stay this colour. I'm just doing this so that I can see where the floral is. Let's just place that back up again. So I'm using Portobello so I can then see it on the background. But I will be changing it completely. Just to add to that moody backdrop. So I'm going to add this one. Tracy can't make her mind up. Let's add this one here. Like so. Now again, I'm adding this to an oxide, a very layered oxide backdrop. So I'm just going to give it a few moments. But I'm going to change the whole thing anyway. So I've just used that Portobello that I want to call a different name every single time I do it. There we go. So I've got my shape of my floral there. And then with the Malva, I'm going to use a couple of the smaller ones as well. Which one that goes there? I'm going to use the smaller floral as well. Let's use a smaller acrylic block rather than have all that. So I'm going to take that again, and then I'm going to take the Portobello once again. And I think I'll add one here. I only need the outline really, because I'm going to change it. And then I think we'll have, let's have one there. There we go. So let's just place these back and be good. And what I'm going to do now is bring in my white paint. So let's just bring in the white paint. There you are, a really good dollop of white paint. I'm going to grab my little brush and some water, just so that, only because my Sennelier paint is quite thick, so I need it to flow a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to just change this a little bit. Now, just remember, when I'm painting or I'm colouring, it's going to take a lot longer. Let's just... Because when I'm colouring, the process always takes a lot longer. So, and I can feel the texture from the oxides, which is lovely. So I'm just going over. You can see how thick my paint is. Doesn't matter which white paint you use. And if you don't want to use white paint in this form, then use your Posca pen. But you won't get the texture that I'm getting if you use the, if you use a proper acrylic paint. And you can feel the chalkiness sort of the oxides just in the background. So let's pick a little bit more of that white up. Just turn this around a little bit, just so that I can see. Let's make sure you can see what I'm doing, or else that defeats the whole object, doesn't it? So you can see I'm just colouring in the floral with the white paint, and obviously that white paint is going to pick up the browns and the greys, so therefore it's going to appear more creamy. That's just obvious because you've got the moisture in the paint, so it's picking up that colour. Let's just... And the reason I turn my card is it's just a little bit easier just to paint if you just move your card a little bit. There we go. And then let's add this again and come round to the next floral and just paint the whole area in. And I like to use that smaller brush, just makes it easier to do. And what I'm doing is I'm painting on top of that oxide and changing the look of the floral completely. Just add a little bit of dots of white there, just so I can see where I'm going. Again, just making sure you can see what I'm doing. And when I'm doing the snippets, when I'm colouring, it's obviously going to take a little bit longer, but it's still only a snippet of an idea. There you go. So we've now got those coloured in. Let's make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm then going to colour the smaller ones. There we go. Just obviously with it being a smaller floral, you just need a tiny bit of paint. Now, I could quite easily have sort of prepped this, but sometimes I think when you prep everything, you don't actually see all the step-by-steps properly. So this is why I'm doing everything from scratch. There we go. So just turn that around just so that we can see what we're doing. There we go. And what you can do then is make your stamps look completely different. Let's just put the middle in there. So I'm going to colour, and I'm going to lean straight in that. Don't do that, Tracy. So just adding that white there. Obviously, I've got more paint than anybody needs at all. So I still want you to take your time with your Thrinchies. I don't want Thrinchies, oh, I can't get it out of my head, snippets, because I don't want you to rush the process. Because the idea of the snippet as well is that you just take a snippet of time. If you just want to spend 10 minutes doing it, spend 10 minutes, put it down and come back to it and spend another 10 minutes another day. That's absolutely fine. Just there we go, pick up the paint. There we go. Let's just add a little bit more water just so it's not just sitting there. So you've now got the basis of the florals that also look quite moody in that background. So then I'm going to take my white Posca pen and I'm just going to just sort of bring a little bit of a pretend stem, which I'm going to have to make darker later, but I can see where it is. Let me just see if my paint will do that a little bit better. So a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a suggestion. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, sometimes things look better when they're not quite so perfect. Just makes it look a little bit more natural, I feel. So what I'm going to do then is just give that a dry. Now obviously I could have prepped this, but then it just doesn't feel right for me sometimes if I just prep everything and then not come in and show you exactly what I'm doing. So I'm then going to add another layer of colour. So another layer of that white. That will then just add more thickness and more vibrancy to the floral. Your floral, you can take as long as you wish on that floral. Just painting that in. Doesn't matter how much texture you give that. In fact, the more texture, the better. It adds to the organic feel. Now, if you don't like using paints, just add your white layer of paint and then you can use your pencils on the top. You can use your Prismacolor. So I'm just picking up a little bit more of that paint. And I'm not being too precise. I'm just giving it a coat and it's quite organic, but it really does add to the feel of this. I will hold this up just so that you can see. So I've added 2 layers of this. Let's just place that into, again, some water so it doesn't sit there. Now let's hold this up for you just so that you can see. I've got bits of paint everywhere, like I always do with white paint, but just so that you can see that now. Just so you can see. So it is going to be a little bit longer. So now, which I didn't get out, bear with me. I have some grey paints. Now, if you haven't got grey paints, use some grey pencils. It's fine. So I've got, that is not grey, that's brown, Tracy. Elephant. Let's just pull them out. Let me see. Let's have a look. So we've got elephant and mineral. It says elephant and mineral. I can use a bit of cocoa actually, but let's use elephant first. Doesn't look like I've got much of that, but hopefully enough. So any grey paint, you know, nothing specific. I might have to get some of these paints in because I use the, look at the state of that, because I use these all the time. So let's just grab a bit more water, and then I'm going to pick up the grey. I haven't really washed my brush, it doesn't matter because it's just going to be, I've now got a hair on that. That's lovely. I'm just going to add a little bit of grey to the floral, just with the, what did I do? Was it elephant? Yeah, elephant, the elephant paint. So I'm just, can you see I've hardly got any paint on because I'm scrubbing it out. You can see that. So I'm just going to add a little bit, and I am going to do a little bit of pencil work as well. So in fact, you only need one colour of grey paint just to add a little bit of that texture with grey paint. Because the rest I'll do with pencils. So just adding a little bit of the elephant paint to these as well. Just again to just give a little bit more texture, just to add to the organic feel. Let's just add so you're just adding a little bit of texture with the grey paint, and only put a little bit of paint out. You don't need to put as much paint out as I've put out. And we need to add some depth and definition now with some pencils. Let's just, what you can do is if you've got some paint left over, you can brayer that onto another piece of card. I'm just going to move that out the way or else you can't see what I'm doing. Just going to clean my brush just because it's really important I actually remember. I'm going to give this a little bit of a dry now. So just make sure it's completely dry. And it makes your floral look completely different. And I'm aware there's a lot more to it, but it's just a little snippet of an idea. But the colouring is always going to take me longer. I'm never going to be able to colour quickly. There's just no way. Right. So let's grab some greys. So what have we got here? We've got a warm grey, and we want a really dark one, don't we? There we go. And then do we need a little bit of black as well? There we go. And it's sacrilege, but I'm going to have to just wipe a little bit of that paint up, just so it's not in our way. Right, and then what I've got now is I've got my floral, which is still wet, Tracy. There's no point trying to do this without Really thoroughly drying that. Thoroughly dry your piece. There we go. And I've got black, which is PC935. Any of your black pencils will be absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be, you know, sort of too much. I'm just going to add a little bit of the black just to the edge here, just to give a little bit more depth just to the inner areas. So just a little, we'll do one at a time, and let's keep these here. So then my second colour is 70% warm grey, PC1056. I'm just going to add a little bit of the grey. Now I'm not going to colour the whole floral, just sort of a little bit of that. And then I'm going to go to 50% warm grey, PC1054. And just come in with that. I'll colour the little ones afterwards. You know, we want to get the most out of our products. We want to make sure that we try lots of different colour schemes, even if they're not particularly a colour scheme you would use. It doesn't matter, it's experimenting and getting a feel for something a little bit different. Now, if you don't want to do the moody colours, you can do them in your favourite colours. So that's my dark colour coming in to my mid colour. Now there's going to be lots of texture on here because I've got that paint, which is the whole point. It gives me lots of texture. And that's why we like it. Then I'm going to come into the lightest colour, come in with that light colour. And again, with that light colour, still going into the previous colours. So just going into those previous colours. And then before I add my third colour, I'm going to take my white Prisma and I'm just going to blend the edges of that colour just with a little bit of the white, and it'll just smooth the edges out. Just so that that smooths out a little bit. I can see it happening before my very eyes. Just using the white. But again, not much pressure. But the white, it's as if I've smudged the colour, which is just what I want, what I want. So then I'm going to come in with just a little bit more of the black and just define this centre area just a little bit more. So I'm coming in a little bit stronger now. I'm just going to come in. Now you can't fill in the spaces because you've got all that texture from your paint. And I don't want to lose that texture, you know, I still want to keep some of that texture. And where you haven't got as many lumps and bumps of the paint, then the pencil sort of smooths out those areas. And where you've got lots of lumps and bumps, it's a little bit more organic. So then going to the mid colour, so 3 layers I would say is enough for the effect that we want. And you really will see the texture from your paint. It's wonderful. And obviously that when there's texture on there, that's going to give you a little bit of bloom from the pencils, which is only natural. So then I'm going to come in with the white and just blend with the white the whole area, so it sort of blends out to nothing. So I'm even going to go into the dark area and really blend that out. Blend it out with the white, just to soften it a little bit. There we go. And when we look at this in camera, it really sort of gives it that moody vibe. And then I can just keep the centre and just add a little bit of the pollen, just so that it just brings it to life a little bit. We'll add some other touches of white. Really, you should let it rest before you sort of try and add a few touches of the white. You should really let that dry a little bit. But hey, you know me, I like to push it a little bit, just so you can see that. And I want to add a little bit more darkness down here, so it's a little bit more moody as well, but we'll do that in a second. So we're going to, I don't think I'm going to need this. You can just brayer that, if you wish, onto another card, because then you can just brayer other colours on the top. Let me just grab another little wipe. And then I'm going to add those moody colours just to this floral as well, because we don't want to forget those little florals. And because I've added those 2 layers of paint, it really is textural. It's just lovely. And it really does give you a completely different look by just colouring on the top of that paint. It makes it look completely different. So I go to the mid colour. Now really you want to sharpen your pencils. Mine need sharpening, but I'm too engrossed to sharpen them because I'm just enjoying myself. And the little floral is going to be really easy. It doesn't need as much work because it's just small. So using the 3 colours we've used for the large floral, and again with the white pencil, if you actually used a sharp pencil, it would work so much easier. But of course Tracy isn't. Okay. And what you're going to do on these little florals is you're not going to add as much colour, maybe just the 1 layer, just because then they are more subtle in the background. Let me show you. They're just a little bit more subtle in the background. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a little bit more colour. So I'm going to take the black soot. So let's take the black soot. And then I'm going to frantically try and find my brush. So I'm going to take the black soot. Now, no, it's okay, that is. So you can see pure black there. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a little bit more darkness around this floral. So I can bring it out so that it's not, it sort of comes out to nothing. And you can see I'm just using the watery ink that is the black soot. And just bringing a little bit more darkness just to the floral, a little bit. And for me, it's lovely just using something a bit different. What I'm using now is just the water, just to blend that out a little bit. I'll add the white again. So I'm going to bring a little bit of the darkness here. Let's just pick a little bit of this water up, just so that it moves a little bit more. There you go. I'm just going to use the water then, just to blend that out. And if I want a little bit more there, just blend that out. And then let's add a little bit here. Just so that parts of that floral really begin to pop out. And again, just using that tinted water, just sort of to drag out a little bit of the harsh lines, just so that it then works quite nicely. Don't think I need any more. Let's just keep that, because I'm then going to spritz this with water. I'm just going to add a few little splatters with the Distress Oxide Black Soot. Just add a few. Just clean that up. I do like to clean black up. I don't like to have too much black everywhere, just because I know me and it ends up absolutely everywhere, and I don't want that. Let's make sure this is okay. Yeah, that's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'll let that, what's it called? Distress Oxide dry, and I'm just going to come in with a few little bits of sort of pollen-y bits now. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit more. Let's dry that Distress Oxide, just so that we don't go and smudge, because I don't like sort of smudged black, you know, when it's totally a mess. It just does nothing for me. So I want it to look like we've thought about the design. My card is very stable now, which works really nicely. And then I'm just going to add a few sort of touches of white to the darker areas of that background. Just a few little touches of white. Even though I'm going to add splatters, I'm just adding a few specific dots here and there. And you can just add a few little touches. And then I'm going to take my black pencil and just come in and go down the stem just a little bit, just to add a little bit of definition. It's only a subtle touch. Just to give a little bit more definition. Rather than use my Inktense pencil, I'm actually using my Prismacolor just to give that a little bit more depth where the stem is. And again, you can come and do that just around the floral if you wish, just to give a little bit more definition. And this is just a black pencil. Use whichever black pencil that you've got. It's entirely up to you how much of that definition that you add. I love it because it's just a little bit different, and it means we're not doing the same things over and over again. Oh, just love that. So I'm then going to just lightly spritz the card, and I'm then going to take, let's move this out of the way in a minute. I'm then going to take this, where have you gone? My background stamp, which is TE11. I'm then going to take Vintage Photo. I'm going to add the Vintage Photo to my TE11, just so I can add some little bits of text just in the background. Now, it's going to be very difficult for you to see. I will lift it up just so that you can see. I'm not making it easy for you with having the darker background, but it is worth doing. It really is. I'm just going to add little bits of text here and there just to add further to the background. And once I lift it up, you'll be able to see clearly where I've added those bits of text just to give a real sort of botanical feel. And you can even do like a pretend signature at the bottom. You could do it with your black pen or your white pen. You could do a pretend signature as if it's like a portrait that you've done. And then let me just hold this up so you can see the little bits of text in the background. Just really adds to it, I'm then going to add some of my splatters just around the background, just to give it a little bit more interest. So let's just give that a dry, just so that Posca only reacts so much to the background with having the moisture in there. So let's just give that a dry. Just so that it doesn't react anymore. Look at my pretend signature at the bottom. Hang on. So as if you've done your own artwork. So your own little sort of signature. It's not really my signature, it's just a scribble, but nobody has to know that. So then I'm just going to add a little pheasant here. Just goes with this sort of moody kind of feel. Do you know, I've pulled my letter C off again. I need to clean that. Let me just place that there. And I think, is it this one? No. Why do I always pick the wrong one? Right, let's grab an acrylic block. I'm going to take my black ink. I'm just going to give that a bit of a clean. I'm going to add the pheasant here, like so. Can you see that I gave that time to sort of grab hold of the surface? So don't be in too much of a rush when you're doing that. We need to give it a little bit of shading because I don't want him floating. Whenever I use white paint, trust me, it's all over my hand. Anything else, not a problem. White paint over my hand everywhere. There we go. And I don't want to add any white touches to the pheasant because I like that darkness to go with this, that sort of moodiness with it. And then on the Malva stamp, you've got Malva and you've got the text all about the Malva. I'm going to use that. But this time I'm going to use a darker ink. So I'm going to use the Portobello and I'm going to use the stamp in my fingers. So I'm going to add a little bit here. I'm just going to press very lightly just to add a little bit of text about the Malva. Just using my fingers just to add the text just in the background. Oh, just love it. And then I'm going to then add this to an acrylic block. I'll just grab that small acrylic block. I'll just take a spare piece of card, which I did have on the top, but I've put something else on the top of it, so you can't make it up really. Let's just ink that. Stamp, where are you? There you go. Just going to give this a dry because I've got a relatively new ink pad, so I just want to make sure it's dry. And I'm just going to cut out some of the words. Let's give this a dry because the VersaFine Clair Portobello is stamped on the top of that paint layer, so you need to make sure that that is dry. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut out some words. Don't have to use the whole bit of text, just parts of it. That's fine. And then I just won't be able to find it because I'm just chucking it everywhere. Just to give it a pop of white. Just cut that down. That's perfect. That's all I need. It's got Malva, commonly called mallow. And I can just add this to my card. Let's grab this. I can't pick it up. Oh, come on, Tracy. So, Malva, commonly called mallow. So then I've got that pop of white. I'm just going to add my little bit of adhesive. just with that pop of white. And add that here. I'll just keep moving it. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is grab, the light's getting a bit bad here now. That's it. Leave that there. Let's grab our Thrinchy Snippet book. Stop calling it Thrinchy. Just add this to here. I think that is so striking, just in those colours. But I need to add, I was going to say I'll add a bit of shading under the text, but I think with it already so moody, I won't add the shading underneath the text. So it's just, oh, it's lovely. It really is lovely. The only thing I'm going to do to finish off, let me bring this in, is I'm just going to add, where's my acrylic paint? Take a little bit of the acrylic paint, just a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of acrylic paint and just add a little bit sort of here and there, just to the background, a little bit, a bit of arty paint. Let's just clean that up. And we'll lift this up so that you can have a look. And then, what do I do with my book? If I bring this in, look at the paint on my hand, and I bring that in, that looks really artsy, just in the background. So this is Snippet 93, and I think that looks really artsy. So I hope you've enjoyed that and you'll give that a go. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.